Dear brothers and sisters, through the Spirit of St. Augustine, this is a homily for the 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B. Christ in the Gospel passage today reminds us that it is not the human traditions and rituals that make us pure or clean, but rather it is what comes out from our hearts that makes us pure or impure. Therefore, what really to clean today is none other than the heart and not the hands only. As they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. We are invited through the liturgical readings of today to clean both outside and inside ourselves. What is to really clean today is the heart. On the other hand, there are two important lessons that Christ wants us to listen and understand today. We are going to discuss them in details later on in this homily for 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time B. To begin with, for the last 5 Sundays, we've been reading the Gospel according to St. John. Today, on this 22nd Sunday of Ordinary Time B, we go back to read the Gospel according to St. Mark. Moreover, the Gospel passage of today is an extract that is situated between two miracles about the multiplication of bread. That is, the first one that took place in the Jewish territory, Mark chapter 6, from verses 35 to 44, and the second one that took place in the pagan territory, Mark chapter 8, from verse 1 to 9. Most probably, the disciples were eating some bread. On the question of the pure and impure, Christ responded to the Pharisees, the scribes, the crowd, the disciples, and then to us today. In fact, he wants us to understand two important lessons concerning what is pure, what is impure, and what really to clean. First and foremost, we have one, from external purity to internal purity. And then second, from discrimination to openness and communion. Indeed, the whole discussion in this passage revolves around these two important lessons. Let's start with from external purity to internal purity. External purity means that which involves physical cleanliness. For the Jews, they had some human traditions such as washing hands up to elbow before eating, sprinkling water on themselves after visiting the market, and even washing utensils. In fact, at that time, washing of hands was strictly followed by the Jews who were living at Jerusalem than those in the countryside. Generally speaking, these human traditions are not bad in themselves. However, when regarded as rituals that make one to be pure or clean, that is when they become impediments in our life. That is the bone of contention. It is recorded that some Pharisees and scribes from Jerusalem noticed that the disciples of Jesus did not wash their hands before eating. They therefore asked Jesus, why? Jesus responds to them by quoting scripture because from time immemorial, prophets have been always denouncing this hypocrisy among the people of God. In a nutshell, according to Jesus, what makes someone impure is not human traditions, but rather what comes out from the heart. We can note here that Christ in this passage does not condemn physical cleanliness, but he adds more meaning to it, that is, to clean hands as well as the heart too. Physical hygiene helps us to live a healthy lifestyle, but more importantly, a spiritual hygiene is to be done also regularly through the sacrament of penance. What is really to be cleaned also is the heart and not the hands only. What makes a man impure is that which comes out of the heart and not human traditions or customs or rituals as some Jews believed. For instance, it is not the person that makes you angry, but the thoughts that you have towards that particular person that will make you angry. This applies also to the statement of Jesus about what makes one impure is that which comes out of a person. The second lesson that Christ teaches us today is from discrimination to openness and communion. Human traditions are a means to serve us and not an end in themselves. In the Jewish society at the time of Jesus Christ, human traditions created two groups of people in the society, that is the good or pure, as is in the case of Pharisees, whose name means the separated. Whereas on the other hand, we had the sinners or the bad or the impure, such as the lepers or a woman who had just given birth, or even tax collectors. The divided outlook is seen in the gospel passage where the Pharisees sees the disciples as the impure and themselves as the pure. In his response, Christ answers to all of them, first to the Pharisees, the scribes, the crowd, and finally to his disciples. Indeed, he aims at establishing a society of people that are open-minded. On the personal level, which tradition blindfolds you today? Indeed, God calls us to destroy the barriers so as to be in communion with the discriminated, abandoned, the weak and rejected. Christ himself even ate and mingled with the marginalized in the society. All people of all walks of life are called to be in communion with God. To conclude, we are called on this Sunday to really clean our hearts and not only our hands, because the source of moral impurity is the heart. Let us discern and use good human traditions and God's commandments as two wings to help us to fly and approach God in our daily life. Amen. Have a blessed Sunday.